Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, much like the Power Wash Simulator Shrek DLC, this podcast has layers. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going great. I hope, Patrick, it's going well for you on this beautiful indie world / Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase day.
This is the type of thing we've never seen before.
We're witnessing history
in the making, in the doing, in the presenting to us. Not that we're presenting anything historical here.
No, but we are living it.
Yes, you're right. We are living it. Very excited to break down these two presentations. So let's just get our normal top of the show stuff out of the way.
Let's do it.
Real fast here. patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society. If you want to support us there at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries. We are currently making our way through Season 2 of NCS Arcade.
We're going to be talking about Elite Beat Agents from the Nintendo DS pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
Really excited to talk about that. And everybody should follow us for free on Patreon. You don't have to pay anything. You can follow us over there. And everybody gets access to the listener feedback episodes we do after that we release like a couple of weeks after the new episode of NCS Arcade.
Right. So if you are interested in Elite Beat Agents and you want to listen to that feedback episode, but you don't want to support us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, just follow us for free. You can email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, about Elite Beat Agents, and we will include your messages in that special supplementary episode. And I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Also, if you are a 4-bit follower, you get access to NCS Detective Club, which was also a super fun time. So get in at whatever level you want and enjoy what we're doing over there. Also enjoy what we're doing here, right? Or you could hate what we're doing here. That's fine too.
Yeah, hate what we're doing there, like what we're doing on Patreon. Talk to us about it on Discord.
Yeah, of course. Get in the Discord. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we will let you in. I'll send you an invitation, and then you can chat with people there. Mark, I think we're done here. I think you and I got to just get into, we've got 40 minutes of presentation to cover. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I feel like sometimes we do like an overall, we do a little zoom out and be like, it's 40 minutes of blah, blah, blah.
Little temperature taking.
Yeah. Well, do you want to do a, how did you feel overall about this direct sort of?
Yes, because I have a question for you. How did you feel about the combo where they're like, hey, we're laying it all out there. We're doing an indie world. We're doing a partner showcase. We're cramming it all in at the end of August because who knows what the future holds.
Right. Okay. Well, we talked a fair amount on the previous episode about what this may mean for a direct that will reveal the new hardware or first party stuff. So no need to retread that here.
But just just as a experience,
right?
As a witness to history, what do you think of having the two together?
I think it's fine. It made me realize that if they had done a single branded thing, and it was all in the voice of the indie world or all in the style of the indie world, I would have lost my mind at 40 minutes. No shade to what are their names? It's like
I can't remember.
They both begin with A, and it's like Aaron and Amber or something like that. But I don't need those hosts talking to me for more than 20 minutes every 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I actually thought that this was a rather subdued indie world, as far as that goes, because we didn't really get bits from developers. Right. Like we did get the intros.
We got a few of those,
but we didn't really get bits. They were all short. I felt like the indie world really
was moving along at a clip.
Yeah.
One thing that I did find sort of striking is that I don't know if it's where we are in the Switch's life cycle or what exactly is going on here. But I found it really hard just looking at the footage from these games to make a strong delineation in my mind between the indies and the partner
I did think
games.
that was something that was interesting as well, and we've kind of talked about it in the past, that what is the line between an indie game and not an indie game?
Totally.
And yes, having the presentations just back to back like that, definitely it all just kind of like runs together,
Right.
blurs even more.
Because, like, don't check the notes. Goat Simulator 3. What part of the presentation was that in?
Right?
Right? Like, where should it go?
Exactly.
You know, like all of these things is just kind of like, well, okay, it's a wild new world, and it's really like maybe less about the distinction between the two presentations is maybe less about the size of the studios and more about like how they choose to present them,
Mm-hmm.
because the indie worlds are all very focused on like the development team and putting those voices,
the
people, yes,
behind it.
Whereas, they will never show you the people behind the partner showcase games, right?
Right.
Okay, but then, so overall, how did you find this experience? How did you find it? Did you like the direct, or were you excited about stuff?
There were a few things that I was excited about. Overall, I felt like it was just I didn't think it was it didn't blow me away.
Right.
I think of the post 2020 partner showcase directs, it was probably the one that had the fewest things that I was like super interested in.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
But there were still stuff I liked, and overall I just feel like, we're all kind of just treading water until
we know more.
Because even the big like kind of last game of the partner showcase is interesting on a theoretical level, but
I don't really care.
But it's like a $20 download game. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
and that's not a bad thing, but I think it's just really telling of where the Switch is at. That and the PS2 / Wii era / PS3, like that is big right now. It feels like everything
Sure.
from the end of the PS2, the Wii era, and the PS3 are coming back in a big way. And by that I mean remasters.
Right. Yes. Well, and we're just I like, and this is like the scale of thing that would show up in here anyway. But like, yeah, it is amazing how much of this is just remaster, re-release, port, collection, whatever. Once we get to the partner showcase.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also found I found this thing to be like kind of lackluster. There are obviously some announcements in here that I'm very excited for. Tetris Forever is probably gonna be my game of the year every year since this year until whenever in the future. But yeah, I mean, maybe we should just go through it kind of like beat by beat. I don't feel like there was any single like standout. Holy cow! This is the reason why they did these presentations.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our original thesis where it's like, well, they have some marketing obligations, so here we go.
Yeah.
Definitely
And like, again, not to say that there's like nothing interesting here.
Yeah, totally.
It's interesting stuff, but nothing that blew us away.
Yeah.
We start, of course, with Balatro, Friends of Jimbo. That's the name of the like update pack for it.
Yeah, it's this free cosmetic pack featuring collaborations with other games. The Witcher 3, Vampire Survivors, Dave the Diver, and Among Us were all featured. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't change anything with the gameplay. It's purely just allows you to customize your deck.
So Dave the Diver and Balatro have like another crossover thing within Dave the Diver, where you can play Balatro in it.
Oh, that's funny. That's
so
cool.
Balatro is turning themselves into like the new Shovel Knight, where they're like, we're going to cross over with every indie thing. And also The Witcher, I guess. But so yeah, it's good for Balatro, and like good for them like reaching out and connecting with all these other studios. That's cool. If I was playing Balatro, I would be excited to try out those new themes.
Yep, and I can't remember, but that's free and was available now.
Yep.
Up next was a trailer for Neva, which is coming out on October 15th, and it's a new platformer from the developers of Gris.
Right, and I believe we had seen this in a previous direct
remember.
Indie World Showcase or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know if we said this we're obviously starting with the indie world as they did as well.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we're talking about indie games. It does seem cool.
It looks
right?
beautiful. I never played Gris. I know Gris also was beautiful.
Right.
And has a good reputation, but I've never played it. But this one did look, I thought, incredible.
Yeah, and it looks to be like, the sort of like moody platformer kind of thing, which I don't know, because you and I are such like 80s, 90s, game kids, like that's when we found our sea legs in gaming. Something expressed to me in a platformer is I'm just like, yes.
Oh yeah,
That's
totally.
exactly the kind of gameplay I want to experience, whatever artful presentation you have. So yeah, I am interested in seeing how this one nets out. After that, we got Moth Cubit, coming out spring 2025. It's an RPG about corporate life as a bug.
I thought this one looked interesting.
This one to me looked just like indie game,
Oh,
like
yeah.
It has that like same font that you see in all the like escapist games or whatever, and it just it felt just like, I don't know, like achingly generic to my eyes.
Oh, that's interesting. It didn't come across as I see what you're saying. It didn't come across that way to me. I was kind of intrigued by some of the elements that they show, which is it seemed like there were a bunch of different gameplay things that happen. Like they show one part of it where you're like coloring on a picture, and they talk about combat and you're selecting like dialogue against the the person that you're fighting and stuff like that. I don't know. I thought it looked pretty cool.
All right.
Although I have to be honest with all of this indie game stuff. My interest to conversion ratio
pretty bad
is terrible, and that has just like historically been true. Where there is an indie world showcase, I watch it. I'm like, that looks kind of cool. That looks kind of cool, and then I totally forget about it or never end up picking it up. And I don't necessarily expect that to change for any of these, but I did think it looked pretty neat.
If there is anything in here that we think may shift on that, we should call it out.
Okay.
Right? Where it's like, I both think this is interesting and I plan on playing it.
Yeah.
But notice that we've not said that so far. Maybe no. I mean, even with Neva, that it's like, that seems cool, but like I'm probably not going to play it.
Yeah,
right?
just honestly, probably not.
If it comes out and is like a banger and people are recommending it, then like maybe.
Well, here's another example. Like Coffee Talk Tokyo was the next game up, and this is a sequel to the previous two Coffee Talk games. But the developers talked about it like taking the series a little bit like into a new direction, pushing the boundaries with this new one. It comes out next year, and Coffee Talk is a series that I've been interested in and have had wish listed on my Switch since like the first game came out on Switch, and I've had multiple people recommend it to me, and when I see it go on sale, I'm always like, oh, I should pick that up.
But you're like, how big's the sale gonna be next time?
It's just one that I just haven't pulled the trigger on. But I didn't really get a sense from the trailer for Coffee Talk Tokyo in how it's really different from the other games. It seemed really similar to me,
I
just
mean,
at a cursory like glance.
That's what I thought too. I mean, they had the translator of the as part of like the presentation at the beginning, the person who had been translating the original Coffee Talk games into Japanese, who seems to be more like integral to the development of this one. So maybe really what they're doing is like taking the like cultural direction of it and shifting it more towards like a Japanese setting.
That makes sense, because I think the other ones were set in like the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, that's right. But like with monsters and stuff, right? Like you're serving coffee to monsters and talking about their problems. So Coffee Talk coming out sometime next year. And then we got news of some DLC. The first of which was Sea of Stars DLC. This is the RPG, Mark. You played it last year. Came out last year. The Throes of the Watchmaker DLC is coming out spring 2025. It's free. It includes a new character and like a special like quest or dungeon or whatever and like changes to the two main characters, right?
Right. Like it all seems to be circus themed. So the two main characters, one becomes a juggler now, and the other one a tumbler. And I really ended up liking Sea of Stars a lot. it makes sense story wise that they would introduce a new character and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder how if this will be something that you can just select from the main menu,
Right.
or if it like you encounter it somehow in the world. But I think I could be interested in going back, especially
Yeah.
it's like free DLC. Interested in going back and checking out this when it launches next
I mean,
year.
it's a game you liked. You know, like you could pay like $5 for
Right.
if it weren't
Yeah.
free.
Totally.
And then the other DLC referenced earlier in our cold open is the Shrek Special Pack for Power Wash Simulator. This is paid DLC, so you'll have to pay for the pleasure of power washing Shrek's swamp. I mean, I you know what are you gonna do? What even is there to say about this?
I've got to say, I'm constantly reminded at how specific my gaming like vision is.
Yeah.
Because Power Wash Simulator is huge.
Yes.
And I've never played it.
And there's been a lot of like DLC packs that have been like visiting a specific IP and like stuff like that. So like the Shrek thing is not a first for them, but it is particularly silly. So good on them.
Yeah. Up next was a game called Morsels, which is releasing February 2025. It honestly, the trailer, I don't know from watching the trailer that I could tell you what it is, but
Boy, do I agree with that.
So I looked it up, and this is the Steam description of it. From their page. Morsels is a fast-paced creature-collecting roguelite with a rotating roster of characters to switch between at will. Overcome a clique of killer cats as you fight your way out of the sewers in this unique action-packed journey.
So sometimes when we're like bombarded with too many indie titles in one of these things, my eyes start to cross and I can't remember anything or even take in new information. And that's what I felt watching the trailer for Morsels.
Yeah, I didn't hate this, but similar to like your reaction to the Moth Cubit,
Yeah.
I felt that way with Morsels, where it's like this is what I'm watching is crazy, and there's like visually so much going on,
Right.
and yet I feel like I have seen this
100
before.
times.
Like it feels
yes.
really familiar.
Well, so I think there's something about like you're right. You're seeing a lot of crazy stuff, but none of it feels like specifically crazy, right? Or like it's hard to divine a vision from the flashes of screens that we're seeing. And so it all just kind of like goes in the category of like kooky indie,
Right.
And I'm like, okay, it didn't make an impression on me.
And I feel like that's sometimes a problem with a lot of the indie world showcases for me is
Yeah.
that it's probably the point. It's by design. They're not going to do deep dives on all of these games.
Totally, yeah.
But it does feel like you watch something and you're like, I don't really know what that was.
Right.
Like, and I guess it's supposed to like tease it, and if it intrigues you, then you go do the legwork
Sure,
to find
yeah,
out what
yeah,
it is. But there's something about that format that just feels, for something like Morsels, it's like I see the trailer and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that looked weird.
Right.
But that's pretty much where it ends.
Yeah, well, and you know, I just think it's because there's like a lack of specificity. You saw something like Neva or oh, I had another example here. Or like Pizza Tower, right? You see it and the visual style is very specific and the vision is clear. You know, you can describe that aesthetic. Whereas like how would I describe the Morsels aesthetic? I'd just be like, I don't know, it feels like an indie game.
Yeah, and also, you know, you watch Pizza Tower or Neva, or even for me, like Moth Cubit, and I'm like, I understand what this is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Pizza Tower, okay, that
Right.
I can understand how I would play this game, like what this experience
Right,
is like.
yes. So
Whereas
that's another
Morsels,
thing,
I'm
yes.
just like, but it was just
What
and
is this?
kind
Yeah.
of like picking on Morsels. I didn't think it looked bad. I thought it looked interesting.
Let's
but
go back to picking on Moth Cubit.
but it's the indie world like problem, for lack of a better word for me,
Yeah.
where it's hard for some of these to stick because it's visually flashy and then you just move on. But again, that's like a me problem, right? The point of this is a teaser and then you're supposed to go do the legwork. And
I guess. I mean, and then like the interviews with like the devs before, like them introducing it, is that supposed to be like our hook into it? Because like I can remember the two guys that introduced
Right, and the cat scene in the
morsels.
middle.
Yeah. But yeah, I have I can't really summon an image of the game. Next up is a game called Date Everything, which feels like it is just a joke about dating games. Does that seem right to you?
I feel
This game annoyed me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny.
See, it was exactly that kind of funny that I was like, miss me with that, you know? Where it's just like, oh, it's so, oh, you can date your own sense of dread. Shut up, you know? Like I felt myself getting actively hostile towards the screen, but I don't mean to shade anyone else's enjoyment of something like that. But yeah, it felt to me like a dating game that couldn't possibly be about dating. Like it just feels so like sexless and unreal, and I was just like, I don't know, it felt dumb to me.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I've like I enjoyed seeing the personifications of some of the
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
like there was like the vacuum guy and
There's a shelf, there's there's like the sink. You can date the plant.
uh-huh.
You can date the game itself.
Uh-huh. But I mean, there is that definitely like meta aspect of it.
Yeah.
That I can totally appreciate how that would rub people the wrong way.
So, just as an interesting point of comparison, in the Japanese Direct, the Japanese Indie World Showcase did not include Date Everything. I don't know if it's coming out in Japan or not. In its place, though, Japan is getting a remake of the Konami Japanese classic Tokimeki Memorial, which is a dating game, like a Japanese high schooler dating
Okay.
like life sim, that from like the PS1 era, that has this like vaunted reputation as being like such a charming like slice of life dating simulator thing. And I was just on Video Games, a Comedy Show, where we were talking about games that never made it out of Japan. We talked a fair amount about Tokimeki Memorial and being like, oh man, if they would just bring that over, and then to like get it in this Direct today, in place of this vapid Date Everything. I'm just like, no, there was the real like cultural thing.
It is funny that they were like, well, we will remove this dating game,
Yes.
and replace it with another dating game, because
Yeah.
this is the area that a dating game goes in this
Yes.
indie world.
Yeah, we needed a dating game, and it goes after Morsels. I don't care which dating game it is. But yeah, just to know that we got like this irony poisoned Date Everything instead of a remake of a classic, bummed me out a little bit.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just like a localization thing.
It 100% is
You
because
know.
it never was localized. So yeah, that's 100% what's happening there.
After that was Peglin, which is available now as a timed console exclusive, which is a pachinko roguelike.
RPG kind of,
Uh-huh.
right? Like it's a menu-based combat, but you do, or I don't even know menu-based so much as it is pachinko-based, that you're executing attacks and like spells by dropping a pachinko ball, and the more pins it hits, the more damage it deals or whatever.
Yeah.
Seems cute, seems interesting.
It does seem interesting. I saw in the bottom left-hand corner of the UI something that looked like a, like skip button or fast forward button.
Ah,
And that seems like it would be very useful.
Yes.
Because it seems like those attacks would take forever. Each move
right.
would just take forever, and that would drive me crazy.
Yeah, what's weird is that like that's just what pachinko is, right? Is like dropping a ball and then letting it go nuts for a while.
Uh-huh.
What's interesting also is that like much like Ring Fit Adventure, where it's just like exercise is your method of doing like RPG attacks. This is just pachinko but for Ring Fit Adventure. Or Ring Fit Adventure but pachinko instead of exercising. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I
But I feel like with
think you just
exercising,
get
it's-
more out of exercise.
Right, it's like at least active. Like you
Right.
are doing something.
Yes.
But in this instance, you're just waiting to see what happens. But again, that's just my impression from watching the videos. Just like my thought was that seems like it would take a very long time to get through a battle.
Yes, it definitely seemed like that. Yeah, you said timed console exclusive. It's available now. Next up is a game called Wobbly Life, coming out December of this year. I don't remember too much of this, so I'm just going to read the quote here.
Yeah.
Wobbly Life is a vibrant, open-world physics sandbox. Play with your friends online or in local co-op with exciting jobs, minigames, and wacky story missions. Earn cash to spend in the world on clothes, vehicles, and houses. There is a wobbly world out there to explore. So you're just like a little physics puzzle guy who like has to exist in the world.
Yeah, but that's what it seems like to me. This is a game that has existed for, I think, came out in like 2020 and is now just being ported to Switch.
Yep, makes sense.
Pico Park 2 available now. You can play with 2 to 8 players locally or online in this like co-op action puzzle game, which reminded me of what was the name?
Box Boy?
Not, or I can see Box Boy, yeah. But my immediate thought was like, when I first saw it, I'm like, is this like a really low res demake of that? Like EA put it out.
Two Brothers?
And it was, is it called Two Brothers? But it's like two little things that are connected by a string, and you are like puzzle platforming.
Oh, Knuckles Chaotix.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, of course. Knuckles
I mean, they are connected by like a magical rubber band. I don't know. This the Pico Park 2 seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that you can play with up to 8 people.
Yep, seems insane.
And that it scales, or that it seems like it doesn't matter the number of people you have between 2 and 8, and you can complete every level that way. But with 8 people, it just seems like it'd be chaos in a really fun way.
No, I look forward to the next summer when I go on another vacation with my old college friends. That the 4 of us will play it together and hate each other. It'll be fantastic. Very much looking forward to Pico Park 2. Seems like fun.
Unravel.
That's
what I was thinking of.
Are they connected by twine or yarn in Unravel?
I think they are in Unravel 2. Their game centers around 2 yarnies, small anthropomorphic creatures
feels like
made
a
of yarn,
doesn't it?
They can call each other that. Yes. So yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Unravel 2.
Okay, and you weren't thinking of Knuckles Chaotix.
I mean, I may have been, honestly, because that's just a constant thing for me.
Mark, same. Next up, we got a sizzle reel, just sort of showing off, the indie games that we know are forthcoming. We saw Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope DX coming out in 2025. Mark, you and I talked about this game after the Yacht Club presentation a couple months ago. But this is a sort of like souped up version of the original quest in Shovel Knight. And it is not part of the treasure trove. So if you have the Shovel Knight treasure trove, you may have gotten used to the fact they like put out new games for it all the time. This will not be included in that, which might feel a little bit scuzzy, but like, I don't know, it seems like a fully featured, amazing, like get under the hood and like do all kinds of cheats and like alterations to the world. I will 100% be picking this up and playing through it, as I love Shovel Knight, and Shovel of Hope in particular is a great little campaign.
Then they showed Europa, which is that platformer that we had seen.
It's like a 3D platformer,
that we had seen in Indie World Showcase previously.
And there's a demo for it now. I played that demo.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it comes out on October 11th.
Yep. Then is Cuisiner?
Yeah, I think that's how you would say it.
Coming out January 28th, 2025.
And then On Your Tail, releasing November 21st. And I saw this time, like, that's just the mom from Tailspin.
Sure.
That's who this character is.
Just Kit's mom from Tailspin?
But
is that character's name? Kip?
I think it's Kit.
Okay,
I think it's Kit.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, what if Mom from Tailspin was the protagonist of this, like, cozy mystery adventure game?
Coming out in November. Then we saw Metal Slug Tactics coming out fall this year. So impending. They did not have a date for it. This is a game that's been in the works since 2020, or at least like on the publicity radar that they've been like trying to.
I couldn't remember if we had heard about this one before in like
a bunch,
previous.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, not a bunch, but like frequently, yes. It is looking better than I thought it was going to look. I mean, Metal Slug Tactics just as a concept is intriguing to me, but the sprites look big and fun and funny. I'm very interested in seeing how this actually is when it comes out. sometime later this year.
And then last in the sizzle reel was The Plucky Squire, which releases September 17th, so pretty soon. And the previews for this are really encouraging.
Yeah.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, like it's kind of got a storybook aesthetic, but then your little guy also like jumps off the page and like moves around in a 3D environment.
Yeah.
And like takes words from other pages to change the reality of like the level that you're in. Seems pretty cool and innovative. And like you say, the previews for it that like you've seen on other gaming sites or podcasts or whatever seem pretty positive. So I'm very interested in the Plucky Squire, which is now out in like 3 weeks. So,
yeah.
Pretty cool. And then we close on Pizza Tower, which is available now. Pizza Tower is a indie game that has been available on other platforms for a while. That is a Wario Land like with a very like 2D. Mark, you have here inspired by 90s cartoons, but it almost looks like 90s cartoons by way of MS Paint. Like there's a very like blocky color aesthetic to this thing.
Do you know Ed, Edd n Eddy?
Yeah.
Was that? I feel like that's kind of what it reminds me
Sure,
of. Like that
right.
/ like Ren and Stimpy. Like
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit less dimensionality to this than those cartoons you're mentioning. Just like the colors are so like, when something is red, it is red. Like it's got no shape to it. But yeah, I mean, Pizza Tower is like sort of legendary at this point. Are you interested in picking this one up? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious as well.
What was the name of the Anton Blast?
I was thinking the same exact thing.
Yeah. But Anton Blast, I remember feeling overwhelmed with, and also like playing the demo.
And that was from the last Indie World Showcase,
that's right? Yes.
And it's another similar, like, seems like a Wario Land like,
yes,
with a Wario like character that also has a 90s cartoony aesthetic to it,
right? Yeah,
but more aggressive,
right? Well, and maybe this trailer looked pretty frantic.
It did look frantic,
and maybe we're just seeing like the most frantic parts. But it seemed very frantic. But yeah, you're right. Like the rat with the ball that said all of those specific things about a Wario Land like in 2024 went through the maze twice, right?
Right.
So that was it. We closed out on Pizza Tower, something that has been like, that is one of those long awaited indies, right? Where we were waiting for an update on it, and here it is. It's out now. $20.
And then that moved us right into the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure how they were going to do it, but they like acknowledge it. They have the narrators be, all right, like, stay tuned, because here it comes.
We're done with this part. Now here's a new one. It's so funny that they have to like treat them as though they are different things. Which like they are, I guess, but like, it's just very strange.
Having them connected like that just highlighted the kind of arbitrary nature of them being
100%
two different things. But it is interesting. They have their own voices, literally and figuratively, right? The way that like an indie
graphical
world
styles
presented
and stuff.
is very different from Nintendo Direct.
It was like going to see Grindhouse in the early 2000s, where you're like, first I'm going to spend time with a Robert Rodriguez zombie movie, and then like a pretty slow Tarantino car chase flick.
Yeah, do we feel like because I love this.
Yeah.
So do we feel like Grindhouse is to Indie World Showcase?
Yes.
As
wait, Grindhouse is the
what was the name of the
Planet Terror?
Oh, Planet Terror.
Yeah.
Is Planet Terror to Indie World Showcase as whatever
Death Proof is to
the Partner Showcase.
The Partner Showcase.
Yeah.
It's tough to say, because like, I think Death Proof is the better movie.
Death Proof is also more restrained.
Mm-hmm. Until the final.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, even from like a filmmaking perspective,
true. Yes.
Planet Terror is aping the more like violent and like in your face.
Yeah.
Like,
What's funny about it is like Robert Rodriguez, the director of Planet Terror, seemed to like do the Grindhouse thing in a more serious way than Tarantino, who was just like started making a movie and was like, I make movies the way Quentin Tarantino makes movies.
Yeah.
So it's always going to look and sound like this.
Does Death Proof count as one of his?
It does, yes.
It was 10 movies that he's like.
Right, the
gonna
one
be
that's going to
done?
end with the film critic. Is that movie still happening?
No, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not
okay.
happening.
All right, so
Yeah.
he's still going to make one more
Yeah,
movie.
he still has one more in him.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Okay, Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, or is Pulp Fiction before?
Pulp Fiction's first.
Okay, then Jackie Brown, and then Kill Bill counts as one movie.
Okay.
So that's 4. But did I get myself in trouble here? By was Death Proof 5?
Death Proof. Let's see if we can name.
Okay, Death Proof is 5.
5. Inglorious Bastards. Django Unchained.
Right. Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the 9.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it. Do these. Now let's do Robert Rodriguez. Okay, so we got Desperado. Okay. No, I don't know. I think because then I would have to declare one of these more fun and the other one more serious.
Yeah.
And I don't think either of these were all that fun.
Well, we're at least starting the partner showcase with
Right.
Tetris Forever.
Right. And it was nice that they did some like fake movie trailers between these two things.
I forgot about that. Did you see Grindhouse in theaters?
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh, it was so fun, man. I loved seeing Grindhouse in theaters. Yeah. And I wish that I had a like. I wonder if you can just stream like the Grindhouse presentation because they're shorter cuts of both those movies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah, they're
That
like,
makes sense. That totally makes sense.
yeah, they're like 80 to 90 minutes long each. Instead of like if you buy them on DVD, they're like 2 hours.
I remember
each, yeah.
nothing about Planet Terror.
It's great. I mean, I love Planet Terror. I think it's a really fun movie.
Oh man, that makes me more interested because I remember just watching and being like, huh, like I didn't really feel one way or another about that experience. But yeah. Anyways, Tetris Forever.
Tetris Forever. Cool.
Great name.
I agree.
Comes out sometime this year. We don't know exactly when. Another one that there was no release date on, but it's celebrating Tetris' 40th anniversary, and it comes from Digital Eclipse, and it has more than 15 Tetris games, many released for the first time outside of Japan.
And all this is very cool. Like, and some of it is more like a Tetris you would expect, like the version on some computer,
like
or
Famicom, the Famicom version
exactly.
of Tetris.
But then also some like kind of weirder ones. We don't have any of the examples listed here, but like I'm very interested in trying out all these variations on Tetris.
It also includes over an hour of documentary footage that's like broken up
cool.
into short clips, kind of like about the history of Tetris, and finally introduces something new called Tetris Time Warp, where up to 4 players will warp between different eras of Tetris in real time to experience a variety of classic graphic styles and play mechanics, which just seems incredible.
It seems incredible. It's like the concept of like Puyo Puyo Tetris, where it would switch between Puyo and Tetris sort of like randomly. And the fact that it is just different kinds of Tetris has me so excited.
Also, they announced that NES Tetris will be coming to Nintendo Switch Online sometime this winter. Plus, a Tetris 40th anniversary Tetris 99 Maximus Cup also happening this winter, which just warms my heart.
Yep, let's get recursive. No, it's very cool. I mean, so this does sort of address one of the things that we were recently talking about with first-party games that have not yet made it to Nintendo Switch Online. And NES Tetris was one of those where we were like, what's really the point? And they're doing it. So there we go. That's the point. And then, of course, the Maximus Cup. Very, very excited for that. Next game in the list here is Star Overdrive, coming out sometime in 2025 as a timed console exclusive. You're exploring the wasteland on like a hoverboard.
I must have gone into a fugue state after Tetris Forever, because
that's the Tetris effect right there.
Yes, yeah, because I totally forgot about this until I was watching the direct again to like compile the notes, and I was like, what I have no memory of this game from this morning.
Even when you have this is this is not the indie world thing. This is just sort of like general video game-ness, where like, okay, there's sort of like a future punk aesthetic to this thing.
Yes.
And it's like a maybe open world or like open area riding around on some cool mode of transportation than like fighting guys.
I don't know if this makes any sense, but this feels like an indie game to me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, Star Overdrive didn't look bad.
No,
just
not at all.
looked like a video game.
Yes. A video gamey video game. Next up, speaking of, Goat Simulator 3 is available now. Available to purchase physically in November. You and I've never really talked about like the Goat Simulator games, right?
No, and so there's yeah, I've never played them. This is like a meme game.
Yeah.
Goat Simulator seems like something that somebody thought would be funny, created a fake. I don't think this is actually, I don't know if this is how it happened or not, but it seems like something where somebody created a fake trailer,
Right.
put it online. People were
Right.
like, "That's so funny!" Got
They're
turned
like,
into
okay,
a full game,
I'll make it. Yeah.
and now it has grossed like $20 million or something like that.
It's like an intentionally broken game, right? Like that's part of it, is that like the physics are all wonky. But yeah, like they showed off like some of the alternate like player characters that you can use, and you know they're like, this is a tall goat and it's a giraffe. Like this is a danger goat and it's a shark. So yeah, I mean it is clearly not
It's
interested
a meme
in being
game.
serious. It's a meme game. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
Because there is no Goat Simulator 2.
Right.
So
Right,
but,
yeah,
like,
that's another
you
thing.
know, it's just just a joke.
I don't know why, but I respect this more than Date Everything.
I respect that. I mean, sure. I mean, why not? Well, I mean, I feel like do we think that Goat Simulator
Yeah.
kicked off the misbehaved animal video game thing? Because we've
Oh,
gone like
okay.
Untitled Goose Game.
Right.
A third example that
That
is right,
isn't coming
that
to
I'm
anyone right
that
now.
I'm sure exists.
Let's see. Who is the ultimate like misbehaving animal in a video game?
Probably Garfield in a video game.
Probably Garfield in the video game. Maybe Jaws from NES Jaws.
Yeah, that's a pretty
He's pretty
that's
poorly
pretty
behaved.
poorly behaved animal for sure.
Now we get an early sizzle reel. Is
Yeah,
it weird to you?
That's right. They're like, in fact, is it the only sizzle reel of the game of this? No, we get a second one,
Sure.
but they're
okay.
like, here's some more.
Including Legend of Heroes, Trails in the Sky, the first, coming out 2025.
Another one of those like remakes from, I'm gonna say, the Wii era.
It's the less we try to figure these out, the
Star
better.
Wars Hunters 3 Season 3 is happening September 26th.
Stalker Legends of the Zone trilogy coming out November 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
this one.
Sorry, STALKER :
Right. I always confuse this with the Metro series because I feel like, aren't they doing similar things where they're, because like Stalker takes place in like a world where there's like a second Chernobyl disaster, and isn't Metro also like
I think it's like a Russia-based post like nuclear
a-
fallout.
right,
Yeah, from like
Um,
war, not necessarily from
yes.
Chernobyl.
Metro on the Switch already, the
Right.
Stalker series coming over for the first time. Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition up next, launching on September 26th.
And Disney Dreamlight Valley continues to get new stuff in game events.
Well, that's what I thought was so funny about this one is they just say new in-game event. We're not
Right.
not what it is.
we don't.
They're not. Yeah.
Is it possible that even Disney Dreamlight Valley doesn't care about its own updates anymore?
But that's happening September 4th.
Then we move out of the sizzle reel into a new SpongeBob game, SpongeBob SquarePants: The Patrick Star game, available on October 6th. This is a physics-based sandbox adventure. My joke in the Discord was that this is just SpongeBob Goat Simulator, but with Patrick. And I think that's right. I think
Yeah,
that's what this game
That
is.
seems pretty close. And then there's Fitness Boxing 3, Your Personal Trainer, launching December 5th. It is another fitness boxing game. It includes
The third of its kind.
two new instructors.
Fourth, if you want to include the Fist of the North Star one that came out.
Oh yeah,
last
that's
year.
right.
Yeah.
You can change their hairstyles. It just feels like a missed opportunity to me. Allow me to date them. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Look, I know it's a dangerous road,
to date your
personal
your
trainer.
personal trainer.
I know everybody against the advice of counsel.
Right.
I still want to do it.
That's why you want to put it in a video game.
Exactly. That's right.
Right? Where you can do it from a safe place. Then you don't have to, date the bathtub or whatever. Then this is followed up by Capcom fighting.
That's right.
We
Adopt the correct
It's
tone
like-
for this.
Yes. This is a solemn occasion.
We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago.
We were.
There
It's
was
Capcom Fighting Collection 2
yeah.
coming out next year. And yes, we were talking about how did we get to it before?
There was an interview with IGN, I think,
Yes.
with the producer of the Capcom versus Marvel collection, saying
Yeah.
that they wanted to get as many of these retro arcade fighting games out to people. Yeah, as many of them out to new audiences as possible.
Right. So this new collection, which is a sequel to the Capcom Fighting Collection that came out maybe 2 years ago at this point, it includes 8 games, including Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Basilian or Bilstein.
I have no idea what
Like
this
win
is.
Bilstein's money. This is Plasma Sword is one of those like rare arcade fighters. Power Stone and Power Stone 2.
Those were 2 games that were specifically called out when we were talking about that news item just a
Yep.
little bit ago.
Yep, it is. The original Power Stone is one of the reasons that I still have my Dreamcast around. I love these games. Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro, which is the Capcom version of the mashup fighter between those two companies. Project Justice, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, which is like the quintessential like fully featured version of Street Fighter Alpha. Capcom versus SNK 2 Mark of the Millennium 2001, and Capcom Fighting Evolution, which is just a mashup of all different Capcom fighters. It's an insane collection. I can't believe that this is coming out. I can't believe they announced another fighting collection before Marvel vs. Capcom came out. Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That is interesting.
That in some ways it's a little bit cannibalizing their own thing, but I mean, whatever. Both those are incredible looking collections. We didn't get a real date on this, just 2025 somewhere. But then we did get a date for the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, which had been shown off in the June Direct. That is coming out on September 12th digitally, or the physical version comes out on November 22nd. The price point is $60. The physical version includes like a comic, specific to this collection comic book. I don't know anything about who is working on that, but I sort of want the physical version so I can get that comic.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm also okay. So with all these Capcom fighting game collections, I find myself in a little bit of a quandary, or where do I buy these, right?
Right.
Because if I want to play these games as like fighting games and get serious about them, to the extent I get serious about fighting games, I want to play them on PlayStation, right? And that like performs a little bit better there. I've got a fight stick, all that kind of stuff. But if they're on my Switch, I can play them when I'm bored on a plane, right? So the question is, what do I do? And obviously with Marvel vs. Capcom, the physical version has a comic book. I can just buy it twice, right?
Right.
Right? I can buy it physically on, probably PlayStation, and digitally on Switch. That's okay. But what do I do with Fighting Collection number 2?
I think you just buy it twice.
I think I just buy it twice. I think I just buy all of these twice. And this is something I mentioned again in Discord, but the Capcom Fighting Collection 1 and the Street Fighter Arcade Collection were eventually bundled together for a reduced price. So I wonder if these two will at some point be bundled together for a reduced price, or if all 4 are going to be bundled together. So maybe that's actually what I do, is I just pick a place to buy them all first, and then when they're bundled, buy them elsewhere.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm very excited about this. I don't need to talk more about it. But I just didn't want us to move off it without appropriately expressing my excitement. Mark, do you care at all?
I'm not a fighting game person,
Yeah.
but I think it's fun to see Power Stone and Power Stone 2
Me too.
finally kind of like released from its Dreamcast prison.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
spell has been broken.
I know, and so now I just have to throw away my Dreamcast.
Don't throw it away. Run it over with your car.
Okay.
Next up was
Then can I throw that away? Or do I have to leave that in the street?
I think you just leave it in the street as a warning to other Dreamcasts.
That's right.
Atelier. That can't be right.
I like this.
Mama, Atelier.
Atelier's here. Well, pour some lemonade for him.
Yeah, what if that is right? That can't be right. How would you say it?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Atelier.
Yeah, Atelier Yumiya.
Atelier? No.
The Alchemist of Memories and the Envision Land is releasing early 2025. This is a long-running series.
Yes.
And like close to 20 years at this point. And this is a brand new game with a brand new protagonist, which is pretty exciting for fans of the series.
Yes. This one got a little too like anime horny for me to.
Yeah, this was a good time for me to check to see what
Yeah.
people were saying in the Discord, just
Right.
because,
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean
to
anything.
us. Yeah,
to me.
that's right. Next up, we saw Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remaster, Gate and Run and Dune and Unification Wars.
Gate Run.
Gate
and
Run?
Dune and Unification
Did I
Wars.
add an and?
I mean, not that it really makes it make any more or less sense.
I was thinking of Mr. Gate and Run.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yes, the remasters of Suikoden 1 and 2, which had been revealed a long time ago and had been sort of quiet for a long time, now dated for March 6, 2025. These Suikoden games are, highly revered RPGs from the like PlayStation era that I don't have any experience with,
I don't either.
but they're supposed to be real good.
And they like the spiritual successor to them is those like Eiyuden Chronicles.
Right.
That indie game that was released.
Well,
not
put
that-
out some tea for
Atelier's here.
Atelier's here.
Coming. I thought it was interesting to have Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remaster, Gate Run, and Dune and Unification Wars right before Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake, because not that the Suikoden remakes looked necessarily like an HD 2D remake, but they didn't look that dissimilar.
No, these are two songs playing the same notes. I mean, and like sort of attracting similar audiences. There's a nice, couple months between their releases as Dragon Quest 3 comes out November 14th. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that Suikoden looked good by comparison.
Yeah, just like visually, it was like, oh, these HD 2D games, do they look more like PS1 RPGs than they look like?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It was just an interesting contrast. I am really looking forward to Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake that is launching on November 14th. You can tell that they're putting a lot of love into this.
Yes.
They're adding stuff, and they're still teasing yet more.
They're adding like a whole character class.
Adding
Yeah.
a whole character class. When you choose like companions, you can customize like their color palette, like their design. You can customize the voice that they
Yep.
have, and there's like 20 choices. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty. A new class, like you said, they teased being able to like control monsters or do something like that. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this release.
Which I think is something that you have to do if you're remaking an NES game, right? Which is what this is.
Also, one that is so revered in
Mhm.
Japan.
Yep. So we're excited for Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake.
Is that the same day that the Brothership comes out
Like 2 weeks
2
later.
weeks
I think.
after,
Yeah.
like on the 28th or something?
But probably on a Thursday, Mark.
Probably.
If I had to bet.
You're right.
So maybe 13 days later. All right. Next up is Castlevania Dominus. 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 It's got to be Latin, right?
Gotta be
collection.
Latin.
It's available right now.
Yeah, this was one that was very exciting to me.
This is a collection of the DS games. Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, Order of Ecclesia. Are you laughing because our notes say Dawn of Sorrow?
Yeah, I accidentally wrote that. Sorry instead of sorrow. Dawn of Sorry.
It's pretty good.
Sorry.
Sorry, Atelier. We didn't know to expect you. Oh, your beautiful family. This collection also includes the arcade game Haunted Castle. It's like plus.
Yeah, so
Plus?
so it has the original Haunted Castle for arcades, which is by reputation terrible, impossible, really hard, and then a new, I think new, completely remade, reimagined version
Oh.
of the game that you can switch between the two in there as well. So I own Dawn of Sorrow. I own
Dawn of Sorry.
Order of Ecclesia, and I know for sure I remember playing Order of Ecclesia. I'm assuming I played Dawn of Sorrow at some point. I never owned or played, as far as I can remember, Portrait of Ruin.
Uh-huh.
But these games, I'm just glad to see all of these Castlevania games out. I think now we're just missing Rondo of Blood and like the most famous one whose name I'm blanking on from the PlayStation 1.
Right. That's just not on Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night.
It's just not on Switch.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because that Rondo and Symphony, they have their own collection that's on like PlayStation, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are also, of course, missing like Castlevania from the Nintendo 64.
Oh, sure.
And those really
yes.
crappy like 3D ones.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like this, you're saying that these games have a pretty solid reputation.
Yeah.
Like in line with the advanced ones, or even better, or worse.
Yeah, I think a little. I don't know. A little bit worse, I think, but still well regarded.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, seems cool. $25. I will probably pick this up at some point.
I bought what was the last one, like the advanced collection. I have yet to play a game in it, but
I played one of them for a while and then stopped.
Yeah. It is objectively funny that there are games like this, and I've done the same thing with the Ace Attorney collections.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, I'm for sure going to buy that. Will I ever play it?
Probably
not. But I'm for sure going to buy
have
it.
them.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's me with Mega Man collections, frankly. Although I will play them.
Sid Meier's Civilization 7, releasing February 11th, 2025. Pre-order now. Have you ever played Civilization?
No.
I feel like because I had a friend who owned it, and he was more of a PC gamer, and so I watched him play that like 20 years ago a little bit.
Right.
But I feel like this is a
series.
Tell
me everything you know about the series.
but I feel like this is a series that if you didn't play it on PC,
you missed the boat.
It's just past. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And also, I don't know, but Switch seems like a weird platform to play Civilization on. But I appreciate that, like, for some people, these Switch is the only gaming platform you have or will put any time into. So I guess for that reason, I'm glad that it's making it there. It just feels like a weird fit for the system. Next up is Tales of Grace's F Remastered, coming out January 17th next year. It's a remaster of a 2009 Wii/2010 PS3 game for the series' 30th anniversary.
Yeah, they're like marketing it as for the series' 30th anniversary. This is just one where I was. It's followed by My Sims Cozy Bundle, which is coming out November 19th, which is another 2 Wii games that are being ported to Switch. My Sims and My Sims Kingdom. This one's coming for $40 on, I think I said November 19th.
And My Sims, this had been sort of like leaked a couple days ahead of the presentation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Next up, we got Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 coming out sometime holiday this year, along with new DLC for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, just called Ruin. The less you and I have to try to unpack Five Nights at Freddy's, probably the better. Then we get a sizzle reel again.
Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed coming out September 24th, which looks like they put work into this.
Yeah.
When you see comparisons between the two, it's like, oh yeah, this is more than just
between the original,
the original and then the new version. It's like, oh yeah, this is way more than just
a new coat of paint.
A new coat of paint. This is not a Luigi's Mansion 2 HD situation.
A game that
we
ended
up loving.
Yep.
Couldn't put it down.
We both beat it for the first time on Switch. Then Tales of the Shire, Lord of the Rings game, also holiday 2024. I gotta say, I don't know if I've just gotten used to this game's kind of ugly, but it didn't bother me that much.
Did it look better? I had the same
I
reaction.
thought it looked better, yeah.
Just Dance 2025 edition coming out October 15th.
Funko Fusion holiday this year,
EA Sports FC 25 September 27th.
and Lego. Well, and actually, the EA Sports FC 25. One of the things that we did talk about in the Switch reveal presentation thing, where we were talking about what features have been carried over, we specifically called out EA talking about bringing FIFA over, and we're like, oh, EA didn't really end up supporting Switch that much, but FIFA is on Switch every year, and here the EA Sports Football Club still coming out in 2025.
And Lego Horizon Adventures, did we already say that? Anyways, that's coming holiday 2024.
That game's still looking kind of cute and fun, and who knows.
Next up was Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, which is releasing spring 2025. And
is this the one that started with them on Dragons? Yeah.
Yes. So Rune Factory is a spin-off of Story of Seasons / Harvest, what used to be called Harvest Moon. And it still has some farm sim aspects to it, but it also has like dungeon crawling and more like RPG combat and stuff. And the last game in the series, Rune Factory 5, was kind of universally derided. It had a lot of performance problems, just wasn't very good. It seems like they have gone back to the drawing board.
Back to basics.
I think they're using the Unreal Engine instead of Unity. I saw some excitement for this online. I thought it looked pretty cool. Rune Factory is always one of those series that I've been interested in because it takes two things that I really like and mashes them together.
Runes and factories.
But I've never played it before, so maybe this will be the one.
This one didn't really do it for me. It's weird to see a trailer start with like two people riding dragons, like flying through the air, about to like duel with each other, and then be like, or they could farm. I don't know. It's also just not really my aesthetic to begin with. But if you are keeping tabs on it, Mark, I will be interested to hear your updates on it. Then the show closes out with Yakuza Kiwami coming out October 24th. So actually really soon. It's a remake of the first game in the Yakuza series. It's Yakuza, a franchise that we believed would never come to Switch. And here it is.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the
headline.
That's
right?
the headline.
Yeah.
Is that the guy who's the head of the studio that makes these games said it was never coming to Switch.
I don't want to put that game on Switch.
But here it is.
We make games for grown-ups and the Switch is for babies.
But it's $20. I think it's digital only, and to me this feels a little bit like it is interesting that it's coming to Switch. That Yakuza is in fact coming to Switch. That is interesting. And $20 seems like a really fair price. I think that's what it is like everywhere else. But this feels a little bit like the Dead Souls remastered to me, where it's like,
sure,
here you go. Here's our kind of like perfunctory.
We'll put the game on Switch, so then you can play it on Switch. No one's playing it on Switch. We're never gonna do it again.
Yeah. So, is this the beginning of seeing more and more Yakuza games on the Switch, or possibly a tease for this? What we might see on the Switch 2? I'm kind of skeptical, but
yeah. I mean, it's so far it feels like a very one-off but they did save it for the one more thing,
right?
But it's also, I don't know, it's also weirdly positioned, right? Because I mean, first of all, we got 2 sizzle reels in this thing, which is nuts. But then it was sizzle reel and then 2 more games after that, which is just like not the format of these things.
They did do the little preamble, like, and here's our last.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's our last thing. I don't want to poo-poo this too much because, like I said, it is very cool that we're getting a Yakuza game. We never thought it was going to happen.
Right. We're witnessing history.
But it is just, there are so many things that are like asterisks about it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, it's positioned as like the last thing. And then what it actually is, which is like a port of a 10-year-old remake of a like 15-year-old game
Right.
that is
Digital
only, costs like $20.
Right.
It's just it feels
Like,
like
this
feels
is your
like
grand finale.
contradictions,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And like, what do you what kind of expectations can you have for the end of a partner showcase? I mean, like, I guess this is it, right? Like some legacy thing that has not appeared there before. Like that's where we get something like, and now the Resident Evil games are all being
That's true.
cloud stream them, or like Kingdom Hearts or whatever. But it left me being like, all right, well, so that was a Nintendo Direct, you know? And that closes out the pair of presentations. Mark, now that we have talked through it, have your thoughts changed at all? Or is your initial assessment of like, there's some interesting things here, but not like super exciting overall?
Yeah, it hasn't really changed. How about for you?
No, I really, outside of Tetris Forever and the Capcom Fighting Collection, Volume 2, there was not that much in here for me. I guess Dragon Quest 3 is very exciting, but like we didn't get new information about that here.
Right, we knew
We just saw it again.
Yeah. I just really love the name Tetris Forever because it sounds like a threat.
Yeah. I mean, yes, or like a protest chant, right? Tetris Forever. Let's write up some signs. All right. Mark, let's close out our discussion here. And then I guess the only other thing that I wanted to say about it is, again, Tokyo Meki Memorial. Why didn't we get that?
Someday.
I don't think so. If we missed anything in the direct, or if we were underselling something or overhyping something, write to us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, or get in the Discord, which you can do by emailing us at that same email address, and we can keep the conversation going there. Thank you so much to our 16-bit patrons, Connor McCabe, Patrice Millette, and Kyle Seaborn. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone who is listening and participating in the conversation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.